up, everybody? It's your boy Shazwiyt, and welcome back to another video. Thank you for tuning me yet again, and thank you so much for your continued support. If you're new to this channel, not distracted by my lollipop, and you're clicking on me for the very first time, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also turn on that post notification button so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Without further ado, let's get straight into today's content. Let's go. Okay. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. I hope that I sound audible with my lollipop, with the lollipop in my mouth. I think I do. I think this is fine. You can hear me, right? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I feel good. It's a great weekend. I feel chilled. Got all my exams done. Got one more this week, but it's on Friday. So basically, this is a really good chilled weekend for me. Okay, I'm good. Now, let's get straight into today's story time. Now, for those of you who do not know what a story time is, I literally sit here and I tell you a story about my life, about something that happened to me or happened to someone else but it involves me somehow, and that's pretty much it. It's a chill day. As you can tell, I'm also not wearing my glasses, so that shows that I'm not trying to concentrate on anything or not trying to whatever. It's a super chilled video today. I'm trying not to make this video too long, hence why the title of this video will be part 1. So basically this is going to be a strange video because normally with story times I talk about just one instance of something that happened to me, so it's easier to recount and tell the story because I'm just talking about one thing. But like today's video is going to be pretty wacky. It's kind of weird because I'm having to like kind of summarize my life, you know? And that can be pretty hard because obviously you don't remember everything, and I'm obviously not going to cover absolutely everything in this video. Not really because I'm trying to be private or anything. It's just more of I obviously just don't remember everything and things click to you or come back over time. So I'll try to remember the details that I can. So today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be growing up in Zimbabwe. I'm going to be telling you about my childhood from infancy up to the age of 12, I would say. And then in part 2, I'll be telling you about my teenage years, so from like 13 to like 19. And that's pretty much today's video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy listening to my story and what I have to say about my life. And this is me. So let's get straight into it. So when I was thinking about telling the story, I was like, how am I gonna tell the story? What do I talk about? What do I not talk about? How do I make this video as concise and not too, you know, too sort of not distracted, but I don't want to like deviate too much and get deep into other stories within the wider spec of the story. So I think I'll just try do it in a bullet point form where I just hit certain things and try to give you as much. You see, I'm literally planning the video as I'm talking to you guys. That clearly shows you guys I did not plan this out properly. But you know, it's fine. Let's go with the flow. So, I was born and raised in Harare, Zimbabwe. So Harare is the capital city of Zimbabwe. And unlike America, Zimbabwe doesn't have like a lot of like nice major cities in one country. Harare is like the major developed city within the country, and every other city or town within the country is like less developed and isn't really on par with Harare or beyond or whatever. They're all like less, and all the other cities and towns are within proximity of like rural areas. But Zimbabwe is set up such that, kind of like cities here in America, in that you have the main CBD in the middle, the central business district with the like the skyscrapers and towers, right? And then the surrounding metropolitan area, which are like all the suburbs. That's pretty much what it is back home. The majority of the area is just typical suburbs, but we have, you know, jewels and like everyone has their own yard, so we don't have the whole open yard thing like you guys do. So that's one thing I found really interesting when I came to the States, is how it's like so open here. You know, anyone can come through. I mean, people usually don't, but anyone can. In Zimbabwe, we don't have that. Growing up, you know, you had your own closed walls, your own drawers, and then you had the house to the next, unless of course you stayed in an apartment complex. But yeah. So growing up in Harare, I loved it. It's a great city. It's the Sunshine City. Weather is perfect. It's never too hot or too cold. It's sunny days most of the time. It's basically like California weather. you know, that typical sort of thing. But it does rain though. It does actually rain, which is what I love. I need some rain, you know. That's why I can't move to LA, you know. I wouldn't ever, because I need my rain. I need my gloomy, cloudy days. So yeah, I was born, you know, in Harare. I was born as the youngest of 8 kids. So how my family is set up is pretty interesting. I won't get too deep into the details because I don't want to like expose people ever. But basically, I'm the product of a polygamous marriage. You have my father who has 2 wives. So you have my stepmom, my mom, and then my dad, right? And basically, on our side of the family with my mom, we're 3 kids, so 3 boys. I'm the youngest. And then on the other side, my stepmom has 5 kids, so I'm my half brothers and sisters. So we're 8 in total. And I'm still the youngest of everybody, youngest of 8. Um, so growing up, I grew up in, I guess you would say, a big family, but most of the time at home, it was just my brothers and I and my parents. Um, and yeah, pretty much it. And then domestic workers. We always had a lot of family that would come to the house, a lot of cousins and stuff, which was my favorite part about my childhood, was that I have a big extended family, both on my mother's side and my dad's side, but I was much closer to my mom's side. And I'll display a picture of of my brother's wedding just to show you like the scope of the family. And that's just a fraction of it. That's just one side of the family. There's a whole other side, and not everyone on my mom's side was even there. So it just shows you like I do have a big family, which is pretty common back home in Zimbabwe, to have a big family. And even like the families of your friends are considered your family. So my mom's best friend, one of her best friends, you know, my aunt, she grew up being close with her and being close to her family. So I even know my aunt's like kids were close to them. I consider them my cousins, as well as her, you know, her own family, like brothers, sisters, and their kids. So it's a big thing. You know, growing up in Zimbabwe, it's a very community kind of setting where everyone sort of knows each other, and you know, you're happy with each other, you know, all that sort of stuff. But obviously, when you stay in Harare and all that stuff, that's not really the case when you stay in the city. Like getting to know your neighbors and all that stuff isn't a very common thing. But if you go to the rural areas, just pretty much anywhere, you know, you'll see that it's a very communal way of life, and that's a typical African thing where if one person has cattle, you can share with other people. If one person has vegetables, you share. Everyone knows each other, greets each other, and that's a good thing. So I'm very happy that I grew up in a big family. Well, it's not really like that big, but yeah, I guess a big family, you would say. And I grew up with lots of cousins and stuff, because it really taught me how to be selfless and how to share things with people and just basic social skills. So I think it's important. I think it's important to have a sibling. You don't need one, but I think it's good to have, you know, at least one other sibling. So growing up, like the most fun things I would do. I mean, I enjoyed school. School was always a great thing. You know, I had great friends throughout my life. You know, enjoyed that obviously. You know, if I wasn't at school, I was at home. If I was at home, I was at my parents' workplace. They're architects, so I would always hang out at their place and chill and play on the computer or talk to the employees there, the other architects training. And you know, at the time I didn't really understand the scope of what my parents did, but I had the basic understanding. um, that's pretty much what I would do, and then obviously in between I would do other stuff, like going to the movies, you know, going to the cinema, obviously watching movies with like my brothers and cousins and stuff. That's something that was always so fun. So there was this place called Westgate growing up, and this place was basically a mall, but it was like a castle sort of fortress kind of place. It looked like a village fortress sort of thing. Think of like if Winterfell was a mall, it was something like that. I'll display a picture to give you guys a better view of it. So it was like the place growing up for me as a kid. Like everyone went there, and there was the movie theater there, like, you know, cinema. It had, you know, jumping castles, and there was always a birthday party every weekend, always something going on. There were multiple shops, clothing shops, game shops, all that stuff, anything you think of. There was a supermarket, and the shop was right next to the suburban areas, like right there. It wasn't too far from where we stayed, growing up. But yeah, you know, it was a fair distance. It was about I guess maybe a 15 to 20 minute drive, not too far away, Westgate, and it was really cool. It's still nice today. It's not really as popular. Well, it is still popular, but not as popular as it used to be back in the day. I knew growing up. I remember like going there, and there were these trolleys with like these little cars on it, and you could put your kids in there and you drive around and pretend like you're driving while your mom or your dad is like pushing you around. I remember that. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. It's just obviously this is my entire life I'm talking about, so I'm trying to like give you guys just random facts and cool things that I remember, that I feel like I want to share with you or whatever. So that was pretty much me. Other than going to Westgate and school and stuff like that. I remember going to the rural areas and visiting different parts of Zim, whether they were on school trips or whether it was just visiting my grandma in Wedza, that sort of thing. Growing up, I only had one grandparent, and I still do have one grandparent, my mom's mom. So I would go to her place more often than my paternal side's village, because my paternal grandparents passed away shortly after I was born, pretty much. Um, so growing up in school, I first started off going to a government school from like the first to the third grade. I went to a typical kindergarten. And then from like fourth to the sixth grade, I went to an all boys Catholic school, a private school, which was pretty interesting. It was okay. I got to go to school with my brother and stuff for like 1 year, but it got pretty bad because there was a short phase of like verbal bullying that I went through, but I persevered and got through it, and I reported on the bullies and stuff. But I still hated the school because I didn't like my teacher and the people in the class. So I'm happy I left that school and ended up transferring to a Christian school. But I'll stop there because at that time I was 12 and I'm finishing the story up to 12 years of age. So I'll leave it at that. Um, so yeah, that was pretty much my education. I remember just how I hated but also loved doing afternoon activities and all these sports that I would do. I played pretty much every sport you can think of. I've played basketball, I've done cross country, athletics, sprints, all that stuff. Growing up like in Zimbabwean schools, you're basically forced to do afternoon activities, and you have to do all sorts of activities, whether it's rugby, soccer, or hockey. You have to have a hand in everything and experience it. So if you're not doing it as an actual sport, you have to do it in PE, either way. So that was a cool thing, I guess, that I enjoyed. Um, so yeah, generally Zimbabweans are really like cool, nice people. I really love them. They're really, nice people. Are they the most approachable? Yeah, I guess you would say yeah, they're pretty approachable. It's not normal for you to just go up to a random person and say hi and start a conversation like Americans do, because Americans are pretty approachable. But Zimbabweans, will talk to you, and they love foreigners. They love talking to foreigners and people from around the world. Zimbabweans love trying new things as well. They love, especially cuisine. We love trying like different foods from around the world. That's something we look forward to. That's just something we're very open. So yeah, we're very like, nice, open people. Yeah, I think if you're a foreigner and you're thinking of coming to Zimbabwe, you will definitely have a great time because people are very welcoming, and it's a great place. There are definitely a lot of things that you could do. But pretty much me, whenever I go home, I don't do much. I pretty much stay at home most of the time and then go to the usual places that I know. But my cousin, who goes around the city a lot and does things, he exposes me to things that I didn't know are even done in the city. Like they're like gaming basements, like strip clubs, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But Harare is a pretty cool city, and I've enjoyed staying there. I love Zimbabwe in general, and I miss home even right now. And it's sad that I'm not going home this winter. It's gonna be my first ever festive season in, outside of Zimbabwe, but it's totally fine. I mean, I was born and I was raised there for the first 19 years of my life, so why should I complain? Um, yeah, what else about my childhood? I mean, my mom told me to tell you this. My mom wanted me to tell you guys that when she was pregnant with me, she was working, still, and designing the international airport, back in Zim, in Narare. And I was telling her, Mom, you're so irresponsible. What if you fell off the control tower that you were designing? Because she was part of the development team and one of the architects. And that's how she actually met my dad, was through work. So she was just a working woman. Hence why, like, I was bottle fed, after I was born, because she was really busy. But then she told me that I apparently rejected the breast milk. Like, I breastfed for like a bit and then I rejected it. But I was like, okay, are you sure it's not because you went to work like all day and then I would stay home or something? Like, okay, all right, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, she wanted me to tell you guys, I love my parents, and they are a very big part of the reason why I am who I am today. They disciplined me and really set me on a path to achieve success and to basically be happy as long as I am, independent, and as long as I'm able to take care of myself and able to take care of other people. I've sort of, made it in life. They came from a generation where it was like it was so important for them to like attain an education because that's how they were going to be successful in life. Because they're from the pre-colonial Zimbabwean era, because we only got our independence in 1980. So yeah, so I was definitely disciplined growing up. Like I've been belted once. I was belted by my dad. Actually, I've been belted twice because I was technically belted by my mom at one point, but it wasn't even that serious. But like, yeah, the pulling of the ears, go grab a stick outside, bah, that sort of thing. Look, at the time, obviously, I hated it and I cried and whatever, but looking back at it, I needed that, to basically instill discipline within me so that I knew my boundaries and my limits and how to respect people. And the Shona culture, which is like my culture and the language I speak, well, actually, there are multiple dialects, within Zimbabwe. So I'm technically Karanga and Dnoyera Shumba, which basically means my totem is lion. But that's a whole other video. But yeah, my culture is very much centered around respect. Even if it's someone younger than you or older than you, it's very much centered around respect and knowing your place within society, within the home. Not that growing up I was taught to be sexist or anything. No, women, especially my mom, who is an independent, hardworking woman, who doesn't need anybody. I just know certainly like we encourage, I grew up knowing that, men and women could, do the same thing and whatever. I'm sorry if I'm going on a tangent of different things. I'm just pickpocketing different things to talk about my childhood. So I guess another big question would be what kind of kid I was growing up. Was I naughty? I was kind of an ass when I was in kindergarten, to be honest. I remember I did used to, not necessarily bully, but I did used to get into a few fights with a few other students, mainly like the girl students. But other than that, I was a really good child. I was well behaved, listened to my parents, did what I had to do. I was a very careless child though, I will say that. And I'm still kind of careless. I lose things. I do lose things. And I always hated it when my parents would be disappointed in me and when they would, sort of like curse me out for, basically losing my stuff. I actually remember when, for the first time and only time in my life, I ever got grounded. And I was like, grounding? That's an American thing. Like, why are they grounding me? This is not even like a Zimbabwean thing. Who freaking grounds their kids? That is so like white people do that sort of thing. That's what I was thinking to myself. Like in Zimbabwe, we have this thing called urum salala, or like salad, which stands for stupid African learning American dressing. Get it? Dressing. And what that basically means is that you are a black Zimbabwean who is acting westernized. You are adapting to another culture that's not yours. And most instances, a white culture, whether it's American or European. So yeah, that's what was going through my head. And I remember the reason why I got grounded was because I had lost my swimming trunks and it was swimming season, so my parents had to buy like another pair, and my mom was so pissed off about that, and so I got grounded. And what that basically meant was, you know what that means. I was literally stuck in my room all day. And I remember, because we were staying with our cousins and my aunt, because my uncle had moved to Australia, so they were staying with us temporarily until they moved to Australia. I remember my aunt was like, Shasha, you can come out, she's gone, because she had left to go to the store or something. And I remember I was in the lounge playing video games with everyone because everyone knew I was grounded. And then I remember like the gate opening the door, like, Shasha, go and let her push me. And I remember I would have to run back to my room. Oh my gosh, just silly, stupid stuff. I remember like growing up just playing all the games and coming up with silly games playing with other kids and stuff. We used to play this game called Monster, where we had a sofa bed in me and my brother's bedroom, because growing up we used to share a room, and we would take both our beds, and then we would take the sofa bed, which could be a sofa, a couch, like, and a bed, and so we would lay it out flat and put it in between the beds, and someone would go under it and would play the monster and would play in that room, which seemed so big at the time, growing up, but now, like, it seems much smaller. And I think it's because we've grown older and stuff, but back then everything just seemed gigantic to us. I also remember, like, I used to love going to the airport. Like, even still today, as a person who like loves traveling, I love going to the airport. I just love seeing other planes and seeing people from around the world just going in and out, seeing a plane go up and come down. I don't know, airports have just always been exciting to me growing up as a kid. And like, I remember when I traveled for the first time, I was 12, and I went to South Africa. We went to Joburg, and then we went to Durban. Even though only there for like 2 days, it was like the most amazing trip ever. Like, it was the most exciting time literally in my life. Like, I could recount all my emotions and every detail of that story, because when you're emotionally invested in something, oh my goodness, it just, yeah, you get really into it. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling on. I hope that gives you guys a little piece into my story and how I was growing up in Zimbabwe. I'll definitely do more story times about this. I still feel like there's a lot of stuff to scratch the surface, but that's pretty much what I've touched on about my life growing up from infancy to 12, growing up in a big family, cousins and stuff like that, my education going from a government school to a Christian school to an international school, switching schools and stuff, having older siblings. That was basically my typical, Zim life. But yeah, there's more to come. In part 2, I'll tell you about my teenage years, and it might be a similar sort of rambling video. Hopefully, I'll try to make it more cohesive. But I will say that I will probably do an updated version of the kid part growing up in Zimbabwe. But I'll do that video probably with a relative like my mom or something, and she'll give you more insight into the kind of person that I was growing up. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining me yet again, and stay tuned for the very next video. I'm sorry I didn't upload yesterday. If you're expecting a video, as you know, I put my academics first before, YouTube. I have to, do what I need to do. Anyway, have a blessed weekend, shazwiyt, and I am clear.